Hey everyone, Hodds here. Welcome back to the channel. We are going to do a lesson today. This is part of the Mechacademy series. So thank you for joining me today. We're going to talk about positioning. So positioning is a really critical aspect of Mechabellum, and it's one of the things that you're going to spend the majority of the game working on. This guide here, we're going to go over some beginner positioning tips into intermediate and maybe a couple more advanced techniques as well. So there should be a little bit of something for everyone here, but probably a lot if you're a beginner intermediate player. So we're going to first talk about standard positioning, and we're going to go over some very common positioning for certain units in standard formation, as well as what to do when your opponent plays things in places like on your flanks, and how you can sort of fix yourself from being too impacted by that. Then we're going to talk about aggro positioning. So aggro being up on the line typically, also typically asymmetrical aggro, but we may also talk a little bit about symmetrical aggro because I have seen a few games of those coming back recently. It used to be more popular pre-buildings, but alas, yeah, I've seen it a couple of times. And then finally, we're going to jump into some replays, and we're going to look at layout positioning from some of the midweek tournaments and just get an idea of what some of these players are doing and certain tips that maybe we can learn and apply to our own games. So let's just jump right into it. I've got a basic board here set up. This is about where, a typical building position would be placed in a game, but in the training grounds, it doesn't put down the buildings for you automatically. But I measured it. I'm pretty sure this is just about right, but it may be off by 1 or 2 tiles. It's not that important. So first, you guys, if you watched the last video, you have an understanding, like you have chaff clear, and you have high damage units. And those are like your 3 pillars and your 3 roles in Mechabellum. There's also supplementary roles like a tanking role, like maybe a rhino can be a tank. And then you have like air units and whatever. And then depending on like squad size, like you have different things, but those are generally the main concepts. So in a game of Mechabellum, chaff is probably the most important role. And if you don't know what to do in a round and you're running out of time, building chaff is usually not going to be a bad idea. But there's certain places where you want to put it and certain places you don't. And so let's go over a standard board here and see where we can put some stuff. So chaff, like the crawlers and the fangs. If you watch a lot of games, you'll see a lot of crawlers being placed in a position like this. So here we go. We have just 2 overhanging off the offside here. But by 2, I mean 1 actually. 1 tile over this way and then 2 tiles this way. The reason for that would be if a unit was deployed over here, your whole pack is not going to get pulled, only this section. The rest of your section will continue to move forward and act as chaff to protect your higher value units. So that's a great position to have a crawler. You can put them symmetrically on both sides. That is great. Next most common position for standard is the fangs behind this. So fangs, and this is especially useful against if you're playing another standard player who's maybe going for marksman or something like that. A long range unit where by the end of the game, they can, once all the chaff is gone, they can kind of pick off your high value targets. Having late fangs is really important for having them stay alive and slowly walk up so that when the later part of the round happens, they're going to be able to get in the way and tank those shots of those marksmen or what have you. So a common position is to put them also behind the towers. Also, really quickly, we put them behind the towers because the towers are your vulnerable parts of your board, right? If you lose your tower, you get the debuff. So it makes sense to kind of put them here. You want to protect that. You'll also see commonly more fangs put behind, and you can put them, all the way like this, all the way on the back wall. But the problem with the layout like this is if, like I said earlier, if a unit is deployed over onto the flank here, it's going to pull almost all of these fangs over to the right, which means they're not going to come up later and act as good chaff for you. So a thing you can do instead is move your chaff over if you don't want to be pulled. If you're worried about maybe an air flank, then this is okay, right? This will stop wasp or a flank phoenix, for example. But if you're worried about being pulled by something on the ground, something that you don't want this to be charging into, move it over a couple tiles. You can move it like that. And then move this one over even further like that. Because what happens is this will keep this farther away from the side, and the closer unit up here will be in line of sight. So it should go this way instead of this way, right? So we kind of move them more into the middle. And you can even see people kind of, you know, getting fancy or whatever. I mean, you can play with it a bit and see what works for you. But, you know, typically 2 like this is like completely fine, completely reasonable. Sometimes you don't even need to have it 2 away. You can have it 1 or whatever. You'll have to play with it a bit, but that's what to keep in mind is if you don't want to be pulled, when you place this down, pay attention to arrows if there's already units here. If not, you know, use your best judgment. Maybe move it in a little bit more to be safe. Okay, so then next we've got our back defense covered here now, but now we're deploying units in the front. And now we're worried about maybe melters or something getting locked on right away, or there's, I don't know, rhinos charging in, or saber-tooth charging in as well. You could have like maybe a beacon with some saber-tooth or some balls or something. You need to stop them from coming in. You've got, let's say, you know, a standard position for sledgies here. You know, something like this. We have it 1, 2, 1, 2. That's totally fine. 1, 2, 1, 2. Whoops. Some people have them even over like 4, something like that. Completely fine. Wherever abouts there, kind of in the middle, totally fine. I'm actually going to spin the camera like this because it might be a bit easier. This is usually how I play. Might be a bit easier to see here. So, you know, we have these sledges, and we can also defend against missiles and stuff too, but we need to have fangs in front. We don't need to worry so much about this side because we have the wall here. Okay, I think when you're selling out of your buildings here, the wall is only 50, but it acts as a frontline chaff for only 50. Doesn't cost to deploy. So I don't think it's worth it to really sell your wall. It's probably good to keep it for the whole game unless you're playing aggro and you need that space. Because then you don't need to deploy a fang like this. So typically you'd have maybe a fang, you know, over on the side, like here, over here, whatever. You know, and you can, it doesn't have to be, you know, perfect. You can just kind of have them around. You can also even have another one in the middle here. Something like this, like that's actually quite a lot of chaff. And we have, you know, all of our angles covered here. If something wants to charge into our tower, it's going to get interrupted in every situation, unless, well, kind of like this way, but you know, you have to, the crawlers will probably be fine. So as for fangs, this is great, right? And you've got lots of space to do whatever you want here. Hell, you could even build mountains and throw them in the back, right? You're like totally safe to do whatever you want. You can even fit them here in the middle, right? Wherever. The thing about this positioning is it's flexible. We build out the chaff, and now you know, you can fill it in with whatever you want, whatever you feel comfortable playing. But there are a few more places that we can put crawlers here to help us. And so this, I mean, bear in mind, like this is something that you can build towards throughout the game. You're going to have to choose the timing of when you want to put the units in these particular places. Because, you know, you may not need these late fangs until later on when the rounds are long, like, you know, round 6 or whatever, 6, 7, 8. Maybe you need, the front ones in the way first. It depends on how your opponent is playing and which ones you want to prioritize. But as for additional crawlers here, you can often find them, on the sides like this, and maybe one in the back. It's cool. A cool trick is like making sure that you can get splits. So you see how the red arrows are separated this way? This will change depending on what your unit or your opponent has placed on their board. And, sometimes you may want to put it like, let's say there's like, a spot like here, which it splits like 3 arrows. That's going to be more valuable than having a straight line, because a straight line is going to just walk in. It's going to get shot down by an arc light or whatever, some AoE unit very easily. Meanwhile, if you had a split, it would take a lot more shots to deal with. There's an upgrade, loose formation, to split crawlers. So you can see there is a value in splitting them. And you don't lose HP. With if you click the tech here, you lose 40% of your HP. But if you're able to find the arrows that make your unit split, then you get it for free, right? So on the sides here, often these crawlers, like some people put them against the wall, some people put them 3 over, some people even put them 4 over. This will have to be determined by the type of game that you're playing. Most common, you see 3. The reason for that is, let's say there is a Typhoon here or a Fire Badger, some kind of AoE unit, and then they put a crawler in front. Well, if yours crawler was right here, there'd be nothing to tank to help your crawler stay alive. So a common move would be having it 3 away, and that allows you to throw down a Rhino here and tank. So then now this flank is completely secure. You don't have to worry about it much other than against air, but I mean a wasp as well. Throw down like that. You're completely safe. For 4, you may see 4 if you like to play sandworms, because this is also a great sandworm position in standard. Sandworm is used in standard and aggro, and like often you want to kind of. There's 2 kind of ways to do sandworms, right? You can have them all together. Let's say you have like a pack of worms like this, and then you would mobile beacon them, over here. All right, sorry about that. All right, so yeah, the worms you can have in a pack like this, and you might mobile beacon them one tower or the other tower. That's one way you can play the worm. The other way is you kind of, I don't know, what you would call it, like slow drip them in. Like this. And you maybe would have like Sandstorm or like whatever. And so basically this is the same rule as we have for chaff. We want to have our waves of chaff hitting one at a time. We have this wave, and then we have this wave, then we have a final wave. Right? We want to have it so that as soon as one chaff pack is cleared, the next one is coming in. So there's no time for your opponent to lock onto your high value targets. Same concept applies here for this kind of worm positioning where you would drip them in. And then yeah, lastly, putting against the wall is, people do this and it technically is like the most spread out, right? You have it the farthest to the side. It's just a little bit more vulnerable to the flank. If you're comfortable playing like that, that's fine. It's all completely valid. I personally keep them 3, just to be able to protect my flanks should I need to. Okay, so great. We have a board here full of chaff. We have our standard sledgehammers, which are offered in most standard packs. So this is a pretty standard place to put them. But let's talk about a few other units. So what about, arc lights, right? Arc lights in standard, let's say we get a whole bunch of them. We want to use arc lights as our chaff clear. So oftentimes you'll see one kind of in front of the towers. Great. And then you'll have one on the side. And what I do, and what a lot of people do, is they actually line it up to this second row here. and put it like, you know, either 3 or 5 or 2 or something like that over. It's just your preference. But the important bit is that it's not lined up straight. It's a bit back. And the reason is because then both of your arc lights won't lock onto the exact same unit. Let's say your opponent throws down a heavy unit here, and the timing of it works out. So if it's charging in, both of your arc lights start shooting it. You're screwed, right? So offsetting them a bit helps a lot in giving you a better chance that you're not going to both lock onto the same target and shoot at the exact same time, where maybe during the travel time, like you're losing shots, right? If one shot would kill a chaff and both have shot at the same time, both shooting the same thing, it's overkill. So that's why we kind of offset them a bit here. So yeah, let's put this one over here now. I usually put them three back, but it doesn't matter too much. And then in the middle here, this depends on how many arc lights you want. You can get by with just you know, this many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But as more and more, if you need more and more, you know, you can throw in a couple more. Where'd you go? There you are. You know, but kind of stagger them a bit, right? Not all in a line. Have them kind of up and down a bit. And yeah, that's completely fine. Now, most people will try to get away with just 5 like this. And then if you're going arc light, you might want to have some Mustang. Mustangs, we like to put in the back. Mustangs have a very high movement speed, right? 16. They move as quickly as the crawlers do. So, you know, let's say we have a bunch of Mustangs. There we go, like this. Beautiful. How come this is, oh right, this is 5. Okay. So yeah, you have Mustangs back here. This covers air. This covers air. You have some stuff in the middle, and it covers for like loose formation or whatever. Oh my god, this board is like insane right now. We have all of our chaff. We have like a safety. We have some chaff clear. We just don't have like our carry unit, you know? But you, like I said, you can fill it in with whatever you want. Maybe you don't even want the arc lights. Maybe you're going for Vulcan, right? You can do kind of similar formation with Vulcans, similar formation with Tarantula, with whatever you choose for your chaff clear unit, even Hounds, you know? Something like this is fine. You just need to make sure you get range and stuff on your chaff clear. And yeah, spread them out a bit. Some down, some up, leaving, you know, space. And yeah, you like standard is standard for a reason. Like it's there's a bunch of common places to put things, and it's more about like the timing of when you put things in place, and then what you build with it. Right. So what's common right now in the meta is Raiden. So like hell, you could just get a few Raiden, and like this board is terrifying now. Like look at this. If you need a little bit more armor, you could even get a couple more packs of sledges, and you cover the sides, you know, like this or whatever. And then, you know, you could get like Link, you could get field maintenance, whatever. Some people also put these a little bit farther up because then that keeps the arc light alive a little bit better. But yeah, like this is terrifying. Okay. What else do we got here? Phoenix positioning, kind of similar to the Mustangs here. You can throw them in the back. But another cool trick you can do, let's say you actually have your crawlers like this, or you're playing, you know, whatever. You can actually put your Phoenix on the side like this, beside your tower. And what that will do would be the front one will still go forward, and the rear one will go and help if there's something that comes this way. kind of like how I was explaining with the crawlers before. But most common in standard, a phoenix formation is somewhere near the back, even against the back wall is fine, or up a bit. But making sure that you're behind this wave of crawlers here. Yeah, that way they move the same speed as the crawler, so they're going to be coming in at the same time and they won't get locked on. Storm callers. So if you play storms, let's delete some of this stuff here, right? We got too much stuff. All right, if you play storms, you do have to pay attention to where they're focusing. So let's say you play storms like here in the middle. Is this a good position? Well, you know, they could really do some serious damage in the middle here. But what can happen is an opponent can put down a crawler. Now pretend this is on their board here, right? Put down a crawler, and then they got a mobile beacon, and they just move it side to side. Like this. Over here. It's going to keep your stormcallers from actually shooting valuable things and waste all their shots on that pack. So more often than not, you want to keep your stormcallers kind of, you know, farther away. This way, if this happens here, it's not quite in range. Like you can see the range here, right? The indicator is if this was in the middle, they would not be close enough to shoot it all. And it'd have to, you know, zigzag a certain way. So it would zag this way. This one would be out of range. And then it'll maybe move a little bit, but then it'll focus again, refocus and retarget over here or whatever's coming this way. So pay attention to your radius here of your range. So that's why most common, like you might see them, you might even see them like on the sides like this sometimes. But usually they're like this with two overhanging on the right, and that helps kind of prevent that from happening. It also prevents, like if some units are deployed on the side here, not all of your stormies will shoot on the side. Some of them will, some will shoot up. So again, we're kind of splitting it, where we have some minor defense for a potential flank, but then if there's something up on the line or charging through here, it's still gonna target the front. Understand? Cool. Yeah, okay. So I think that's just about it for standard here. I'm just looking through my list here. Crawler positioning, rhino positioning, yep. Oh, one other thing. Don't get too greedy with trying to protect your flank. Let's say we're on the opposite side here. Oh, I can't even. Forget it. Let's say you have a flank coming here, and there's a crawler and something else. Don't put your chaff clear. Let me just grab it for you to make it a bit easier. Let's get a tarantula. So tarantula, I'll put this like 5 over, and then it's just like a bit of a more like standard tarantula position. Right, we're offsetting it, same as the arc light, but we have it 5 over. This is fine, and this will protect, you know, the crawlers coming from here. But what may happen is the opponent may put down an armored unit right here, which means your tarantula is going to lock onto that and not the crawlers. So if you're very worried, your opponent is playing on the flank heavily. Let's say you're playing against some gospel stuff, right? Where they have crawlers, and then they have potentially a rhino, right? Pretend this is like here and here. you don't want to get kind of greedy with your positioning here. And but what I mean is like trying to have this farther up so it can be part of the main fight, because the main fight is actually really kind of going to be happening here. And you do want to have it all the way back to line up with the actual chaff. That way, you know, if this was here, it's going to lock onto the rhino, not the chaff. Forget it. You know, it's down here. It's not going to make it to the fight here, but it's going to do its job on the flank every turn over and over, and there's nothing that they can do about it. Right? They're not going to be able to deploy something else unless they sell the crawler and throw something else down. It's a more heavily investment for your opponent to make changes there. So that's why I would say make sure you line them up, you know, directly. Okay. Let's clear all and talk about aggro. Okay, where do we start here? So aggro packs, you know, there's some good. I mean, you can play anything as aggro, but some common stuff is like Wraith Ball, Saber Hound, even Fang Carry, stuff like that. And the important part about aggro is making sure that you leave space for your units. So what that means is if I'm playing ball and I start out with ball, whoops, too many. No. With ball, crawler, and I don't know. Where are you? Hounds. Let's say we start with this. I'm not going to want to put a unit right on the line here because this corner is prime real estate. This is a very important corner. What it does is it's actually very hard to lock onto because you can put a unit here and a unit here beside it, which means anything in this box, right, it's going to target this or this. It's not going to target this. So it's the most aggressive and forward position you can be that is not easily targetable. The best way to target it is actually deploying on the flank here. So you do have to be aware of that. But why we want to leave this open, right, is because we're planning to have a Wraith. And the Wraith is absolute king in this position. There's nothing that can fuck with it. Like, it stops all the chaff here. It helps deal with this here. And if you build crawlers here as well, like it just owns this area. And because it's attack, each gun on it has a separate target. It means it's not getting locked onto something dumb. It can shoot every single direction. And it's totally, like, this is a very tough position. And if we had this guy here, how are you going to lock onto that? It's very difficult. There is a position like here-ish or something if you have AA marksman. But like, it's also a bit kind of risky to put something there. You have to be in a serious headbutt and have like a decent protection. It's a bit tricky. And generally, you can hopefully run them over by then. So yeah, Wraith Ball, position like this, you want to make sure that you keep little holes for your units. So we can take that, you know, keeping space for our units and apply that to some other formations, right? So if we want to play, Fort Fang. So let's get some forts, let's get some fangs. Now this position, right? I said this is a strong position. You can totally put your fort here. That would be fine. It might get a bit tricky if some stuff is put here. It's going to slow your fort down. So you do need to make sure you have that mobile beacon to move forward. Let me unlock the mobile beacon here. Where are you? Okay. Where am I? So, you know, sometimes you might see, yeah, you might see some stuff on the line like this. But often when you're playing Fort Fang, you actually want to have your chaff here like 6 back from the line. Because then you can fit a fort here, and then you can also fit a crawler in front. What the crawler in front does is, let's say you have barrier. So you have barrier, and there's a melter. It's going to lock on, right? But the crawler is going to run in front, and therefore the melter's locked onto the crawler, and it's not going to hopefully kill your entire barrier. So that's why having the crawlers in front is pretty helpful. You can also, if you don't want the crawlers in front, maybe you don't want to go barrier, or like, I don't know. Another option is wasp with shield. That does give you space to wasp shield as well. So always try to keep 2 in front of your giants here, unless maybe the corner. But yeah. So bearing in mind with that, right, we want to keep our fangs 6 back. And, you know, a lot of the times I see them placed like 5 across. So you can even go, you know, like this or whatever. But 5 across leaves you open for more unit types to help you. Like, let's say you ended up with like steel balls. You can fit steel balls there, right? Or, I mean, 5 is the most really across that you would typically see in this kind of thing. But sabers also works too. You know, that fits perfectly fine. You can have them 3 back, 2 back, whatever. Perfectly fine. Important thing about saber, since now we're getting into saber, you can actually do a similar loadout like I showed you with that wraith, where you can put this in the corner. And let's say we were going for you know, a common chaff clear unit to go with this. With aggro would be hound. So we've got hound here. We can kind of stagger this. And let's say we just kind of keep this. There we go. Like, this is a completely valid start here. This is something that I play sometimes. And then depending on the units here, like you can put your crawlers behind like this, or you can put them behind your wherever, or even back here. Aggro position with crawlers is a bit trickier, mainly because when you're playing aggro, often you might have your opponent that throws crawlers down on the side here. They can even put them down here in a position where basically it's going to latch onto the targeting for all of these units and force them to come backwards, which then forces you to get a mobile beacon. So the important thing here to know is with saber teeth, this is like the widest possible position that you can get them to keep them in that mobile beacon. See how they both move there? Now, if I move this over one more, okay, maybe. It's tough, but I suppose you can do it. No, that one didn't move, you see. And you're gonna waste time trying to get it to work. So, and depending on how far up and down it is, it might be harder. So I like to keep them at most 6 away from each other. And this kind of goes with any unit, right? 6 away. And this way you can grab them, throw them both into a beacon. See, they both turn there. So they're going to be able to come in, and they're not going to move backwards when your opponent puts a unit on the flank here. Okay. Yeah, then you can build this out with crawler here, protect that. You can also, you know, you can just fill things in. Important thing about crawlers, like I was saying, is this flanking you have to be aware of. So when I have crawlers, if I have 1, 3 here, that's fine. But I'm not going to put, I'm just move those over there. I'm not going to put another crawler like this, or like this, or whatever, like this, how I showed in standard, because too much of my units are going to be moving over to the side. So what I'll often do is try to make sure that I'm on the other side of the tower here, even farther up like this, because now if a unit is deployed here, it's not going to pull all this stuff. You can even move it over a bit. If there's already units here, remember, use the arrows. They do help. They're not 100% perfect, but they do help. So maybe even another box over. And this could be a position. And then we want to layer our crawlers, right? So we could have like this, and then a couple back like that. And then, you know, even more like that. I don't know. You know, have fun with it. Figure it out. You can spread them out a little bit more if you don't want to have that many rows of chaff. But like here we go. We have 3 layers, right? And this one might even be 2. Because we've moved it back a bit, it might be too close. Like I was showing with the standard formation with the fangs, right? You want to have them over a bit. So yeah, something like this. This could be great. You can also put this one on the side here, right? Same thing. You got that second row of chaff. The other important thing is if you're playing like this aggro, sometimes you do need to defend from flanks that are flying. And a great way to do that is actually with a single pack of Mustangs. And instead of doing them, you know, up here or way back here, which is never going to get to the battle in time, you can kind of cheat a bit, and you know, you can line it up vertically with the tower like this. And then if you move them over, you can have them, you know, 5 or 3 from the edge, or wherever. Let's say 5 for now here. That allows you to still put something down here if you need to. This means most of your units will still move forward, but some of them will turn around and help if there's a Phoenix or a Wasp flank, and so that covers you there. Also, just as a sidebar, if you get a Wasp drop and you're playing aggro, I value it pretty highly because you can simply, you know, go like this, and now Wasps are really good for defending your flank because they cover the ground and the air, right? They'll stop anything from being warped in. So I'll often pick those up. But yeah, you can get away with something like this. Pretty good asymmetrical aggro position here. And yeah, you'd be going in on the side that does not have the buildings typically, or most importantly, does not have that wall. And then on your side that has the wall, you can do very skimpy protection here. You can do, for example, a Wasp, a Hound, and let's say we want to get fancy, a Stormcaller. So you can protect yourself against pretty much everything, you know, like this, right? This is pretty good. Or you can put these back if you wanted to. So you have the Stormcallers getting anything that's slowly trickling in here. You have this protecting your flank from crawlers, and this from air. You can put them up like this or whatever. Putting them over on the side a little bit does help from air threats. You can even put them over here, but often you can just have them like that. And then this is the Stormcaller is just kind of like fancy business. You can get away with, like, you know, just like this, and that's pretty good. And then, like, you know, a tower upgrade or whatever. Don't want to spend too many deployments here, so it's often worth it just to level up the tower or get, you know, a missile like this right on the tower, or on the side. You can put it, you know, on the side like this, which is going to get anything that comes in on the side. But a tricky positioning that can help you also is if you put a missile down just barely not touching there. So we've got it. Okay. We've got it just barely touching the tower, just the front of the tower, which would activate if crawlers were able to get in, and barely not touching here. And the reason for that is if there's a pack of crawlers here, it's not going to use your missile. That pack, while it's being warped in, will be killed by the hounds. So what can happen sometimes is late game, tricky opponents, if they see there's just very skimpy defense here with like a missile and like one pack of whatever, they can put down a crawler, and then they can put down, you know, wasp or a phoenix, and the crawler will tank the missile right away, and the phoenix will warp in just fine, and then be able to come in and get the tower. Like, let's say there was, you know, there was no real defense here. It was just like this. It would take 2 deploys. Well, yeah, you know what? Regardless of where that missile position, it would take 2 deploys, but it does help when there's at least 1 unit here that can clear the fang or the crawlers or whatever. So just a bit tricky, right? Tricky positioning there. Because if it wasn't like that, right? If the missile was, just to be crystal clear, right? If this was like this, it's going to activate. And then there's going to be no missile to help defend against the pack of air units that come in. Yeah. What else? What else? Okay, so now there's a few tricks that we can do with positioning when we're on aggro in order to kind of mess up our opponents. I'm going to just start this real quick so that we can get to the next round so I can deploy it on the flanks. Okay, so great. We've gone round 1, round 2, whatever, aggro, and we're coming in like this. And the opponent's got, you know, some units back here. What can we do? Well, throw down a crawler, 1, 2, 3 from the end here. It can be right on the end. That's fine too. But I put 3 down because then that leaves room for potential to put a rhino down should we want it. And grabs a little more stuff. But yeah, you can put it like this, and what's going to happen is all the units that are behind the tower are going to get pulled over here, which is going to mean there's more time for our units to charge in and get the tower. And once the tower dies, then everything in the back is going to die too. So very strong position here. When you're playing aggro, you need to be also playing on the flank and controlling pulling and timing, right? We want to time it so that these things go over here and we can come in. Yeah, then, you know, maybe they start clearing this quickly. They put like, oh man, odds, what do I do? They just missile it, or they've got crawlers right up there and Mustangs too. I can't do anything. It dies so quickly. Okay, that's fine. Throw down a sledgehammer. Sledge like that in the corner. It's going to take more time. It's going to occupy more of the time and firepower or whatever of the light units in the back here in order to deal with that. And missiles, you cannot missile this if there's a crawler in the way. So it has to be dealt with. Even if the crawlers die right away, this has to be dealt with. And if this ever gets levels and ever gets like field maintenance or even damage sharing, like damage sharing is crazy good actually, guys. Like 120% HP, even like for $200 just to put like a guy there and a guy here, it's not the worst. Like depending on how much time you need to buy, right? You're paying to buy time to get the towers. So this is great. This is good positioning here. What else? Yeah, okay. I missed this, but let's just switch sides here. So for standard, like this is scary to look at, right? Oh my God, what am I doing here? Look at this position. How do I defend this? That's a good question. So we talked before about maybe putting a crawler out like this. And you can see, I'm going to put this down and I'm going to click on these units and see where the arrows go. So now I can pull all this stuff with this unit here. If there was no beacon, all this stuff is going to turn around and go. So I immediately, by putting 100 cost of units here, I forced a 100 cost purchase of a beacon, and it's only going to get these. These crawlers are still going to come back. Some of these crawlers are going to go over there. Not everything is going to be in sync. And then we can take it a step further, right? We can take a mobile beacon ourselves. And with that, what I'm going to do is grab it from the top here, because what happens is where the units are in the beacon is where they'll end up, right? So if this is, the middle, it'll end up in the middle. I want to put it there, right? But if this is at the top and I want to keep them to go to the tower, it'd also be at the top. They'll end up in the same place. They stay in the same spot in the circle. So what we want to do, see how when I hit the top of the circle or the top of the field or the edge of the field, it immediately turns into a red, cannot go here. So we grab it all the way like this, all the way at the top, which means we can go the farthest possible distance like this, and then come all the way over like that. So now this unit is going to go all the way up right to the edge and follow the edge all the way back. Any stragglers that are alive, they're gonna keep pulling for the longest time possible. We are buying time with this as long as possible, and then we can mount our defense. Cool. Yeah, all right. I think that is probably good for now. Let's jump into some games and some replays and see examples of positioning from other players. Okay, here we are. This is Mathis Might vs. Hackerman from the Wednesday weekly advanced tournament. Let's see what kind of positioning we can see here in the first few rounds. He's got Math in the blue. He's took a pretty standard looking pack here with the sledges. And Hackerman with an aggressive pack here with Steel Ball Hound. Hackerman, you can see, is deciding to deploy aggressively on the side where there's an opening, right? There's no wall, no cannon. It's open. And it looks like Math, it's actually a bit weird because usually you don't pick the ball into the wall in the middle because it can pull your units a bit awkwardly. And so, but there is a way, technically Hackerman can attack this open file, could also attack this one, the anti-armor cannon, and just make sure there's crawlers in front. So it looks like Math doesn't know where exactly to deploy and is thinking maybe more likely on the left, but is incorrect. But yeah, you can see the positioning there of the tanks and whatnot. I'm not going to play this round out. We see Marksman Spec double Orange Man. Hey, that's great. And already Hackerman is doing some stuff on the sides here. Already a mobile beacon as well, taking advantage of not having that anti-air. Is Math going to deploy anti-air defense? No. Not on that side. Because Math was split, not knowing which way to deploy, now is forced to put more deployments on the right side. And you can see now we have the Fang in front, and we're just kind of trying to build a defense here. You can see, like I was saying, we have the three slots here. We have this positioning here with the crawlers as well, and then we are defending the tower with the sledges. And because things are coming in on this side here, you can have a mobile beacon that comes in this way and then this way, so making sure that all these areas are covered, kind of matching the balls with the sledges. Yeah. This is probably not going to work because of the wasps, but you can see a more typical position forming here. I'm just going to jump ahead to round 8 and see what we've got here. Oh, wow. Okay. How did this happen? This is why Mechabellum is amazing, guys. Like, how did this happen? Redeploy. Cool. We still have pretty normal position here. Like, these sledges have been here the whole game. It looks like they got sold over here at this point, or at some point. And we actually have wraiths and standard, which is a bit different, but I guess these, yeah, it's kind of needed. There's a lot of jank. You see they're kind of positioned back. Pay attention to the speed of the unit. So this moves at 10 meters per second. Fangs, for example, move at 6. This is 16, and crawlers are 16 as well. The wraith is going to get in front of stuff, and it just dies right away. Like, if this was up too far up when you're trying to defend with it, it's just going to get locked onto by whatever and die. So that's why they're kind of back a bit. Let's try a couple more games here. Let's try Math versus Hikikomori. All right. Tarantula Marksman on the open side. See, we're going aggressive, and we're going on the side with no buildings, no wall. Hikikomori is planning on, if there is an aggression, probably it's going to be this side. But actually it looks like Math is going to change his mind. He's going to play standard instead. Second guessing himself. Let's go round 2. So we see, yeah, the Mustang. This is kind of like middle of the pack positioning here. Mustang starts are weird. Okay. Math worried about too much jank. Already going for this oil round 2. Sells out of the Tarantula, but you see normal positioning here on the crawlers for a standard board. Now choosing this is the time to build them in the middle. Middle being able to protect this marksman here in case something's charging. And you see, like I said before, something was deployed on the flank. Only half of the pack of crawlers comes. And this pack is going to be tanking here for whatever's up this way. And that flank is dealt with this turn. Buys time to be able to afford a different kind of response next round. Let's look at Rakamakafan against Hikikomori. More balls, most likely we're going to see them on this side, right? Buying the hounds to help them. So most likely aggro from El Rakamakafan and Hikikomori, knowing that actually choosing the Mustangs like again is really interesting. We might have to watch more of his replays at some point. Because Mustang you don't actually see very often. Whoop. Okay, so yeah, we have that position here. All coming in, and then this is way far back, so this is going to be more of a carry game. And I think, oh, it's actually El Rakamakafan who had the training spec, but let's move to round 2. But because they're so far back, I'm expecting this to be, I mean, this is more of standard, and you want these Mustangs kind of as carry. It's just a little bit different because it's cost control. Cost control does affect, 11%. 11% of the Mustang is fairly substantial because it's a high rate of fire unit. But yeah, we're talking about positioning. So already, on defense positioning, against aggro, we have the oil come down turn 2, same as what Math did last game. And then we actually see Phantom Rays on this side. So that's another thing you can do. And I love to play like this too. I'll play kind of standardish, and then I look for opportunities in order to slow things down. Playing aggressive is very tempo based. So finding opportunities like this where we can deploy our own aggression on the offside to slow things down and to force deployments over here, or leveling towers or what have you, spending money and resources somewhere else instead of the main attack. Very important as a defending player. Big missile, but there's too much stuff here. Was it killed quickly enough? Yeah, looks pretty good. It's just his Wraith. The tower goes down. The balls die. That tower stays alive. So great job with these Phantom Rays. Doesn't win the round, but does buy time. It's going to force a response, right? So let's see what happens. Okay. So we see the Rhino drop here. It's going to land on the Wraith. That's awesome. Just slowing this down, not even lighting the oil this turn, doesn't matter. But we see a missile farther back so that when things come through, they're going to target it. Also, if there's something deployed on the side here, it would take that missile so that the units wouldn't be stuck. Like, let's say a Rhino got put down here, then all these light units would be stuck shooting a Rhino, and all this stuff would be able to get in no problem. So that's cool. And forcing deployments here, right? We have the Fang and we have the Crawler, but like there's even more stuff coming down on this side. This is pretty hilarious. We don't even see a level on that. Level on this tower. Yeah, cool. Yeah, not a whole lot here. We see, this one's back a bit. It has 2 spots in case you want to put that Crawler there. Then we have this one in front, just buying time as well. And then here, we have space for 3 if we want to put down a Wraith. This, there was appropriate spacing here for the Wraith from the first round. So that was planned out. And then there's also a little spot here as well. So making sure that there are positions to put those units. All right, let's look at a few more. I'm going to look at the, was it the European one? Yeah, let's look at the American. Dachshund. Dachshund and Pooch. So a Pooch looks like a very standard pack picked up here. Fang, Sledgehammer. And we are seeing, oh, what the hell, Dachshund? What is wrong with you? four packs of Mustang. What the hell? But anyways, against Quick Sup, like, you don't know what can happen. And Apuchi playing defensive is playing most of the units on the right side where there's no defense. So that's why we see that. And we've got this standard looking board already. It's actually a somewhat, yeah, this is very, very standard. So we have our Fangs in the back, like I showed you. We have the Crawlers here with 1 off on the right. We have a far back Crawler here, which cannot be pulled over to the side. And then we have our Sledges here. And there's even a Fang here I'm not sure about this Fang. It's one from the side. I kind of would like to have room for something else, but I guess it's fine. What it can do though is like if there's a missile is gonna hit that and not the sledge, unless the missile is put like in the middle or whatever here. But eventually we're gonna see probably another Fang pack like here-ish. Let's see if that happens this round, and that'll help against missile. Probably not picking up another Fang pack though, because all of the Mustangs, but it is something, leaving room for that. We see a far back position here, protecting the tower, making sure that when this battle happens, it happens on the Poochie's side, which has the cannon working for him. So it's all about timing. I want to see how this turns out by round 11. Oh my god. Oh my god, what is this? Guys, this is why you gotta use the game client. Look at the tournaments. Check out the replays. There's some crazy stuff. We just got barrier here. Look at all these forts. Additional deploy assault fortress with Mustangs. And Apuchi's got so much chaff here. We have acid, underground crawlers, acid helping a lot with the fortress, and then charge shot here. But look at the position, right? We have this like way far back behind the tower. Our arc lights here, you can see they are spread out and they're not all in a line. Some of them are a little bit behind, like on the sides here. They're behind a bit. And oh my god, let's just play this out, because what the hell am I watching? There's so many shields, but oh, that acid though. Oh, but the hound's coming in with the fire extinguisher, cleaning up the acid. Not a void eyes. This is crazy. Okay, I'm having a little too much fun here. Dachshund's gonna do it. Crazy. Okay, sorry, getting carried away. Let's look at a couple more. Let's look at Dachshund versus T-Man. Whoops. Well, I mean, this is fine. So yeah, we had, I guess, an aggro position here. We have the Wraith in the corner, like I was showing you before. Great position there. We have crawlers behind, helping that out. Then crawlers. Oh, Wraith here. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk a little bit about symmetrical aggro. So maybe let's have a look at this replay real quick here. We didn't start out symmetrically. We built into symmetrical. We still started with asymmetrical with sledges here. And I guess later on at some point we get Wraith on the other side as well. But you see this position here, even going aggro with the sledge pack. There's 3 spots here. There's room for a Wraith. Right? It should be. Love that crawler pack here. Sort of dismantling those void eyes. But yeah, great job choosing a timing to pick that tower off. So we got the Wraith here. Wraith, the king of the corner, can clear all these crawlers here, no problem. And here's that like vertical formation with the Mustang I was showing you. So Dachshund deploying this, it's going to help any, if let's say these Phoenix, do they have jump drive? Nope. But if they did, Phoenix could be put down over here, it's going to help stop anything from being deployed on that side there. Lots of mobile beacons this game. That's pretty cool. Now we have the Wraith on both sides here. So it's kind of almost turning into a defense on this side and offense on this side. Very interesting formation here. But crawler's getting in. Cool. Yeah, okay. That's enough for this game. And let's look at Pooch versus Mardo. Okay. So Marksman Tarantula, most likely. Ooh, this is a very quick game here. So Tarantula choosing the side that has only the rapid fire cannon. There's no wall in the way. You could go for the open, you could go here, right? The rapid fire is going to lock onto the Tarantula, which then therefore does basically nothing because shooting armor. Then we have that crawler formation back here and a crawler back here. One back here, not going to be pulled this way, right? If there's something deployed here, and this one, only half of it gets deployed. So all this stuff is going to be able to come in time. That timing was great, and we're able to get that tower. No problem whatsoever. And everything here is just going to clean up. So now that the units are placed behind, we might see some in front at some point. Wasp now in the back. Like I said, it's king of defense here. It's also going to be, it's very fast unit, so it's going to take time to move in. Add this crawler here beside it. So this sort of formation here in this shape, it means that if there are units that are going to target this, they're going to hit most of this crawler pack first, about that much, right? Before it hits the wasp. So it's going to protect the wasp a little bit. You see the timing here. This wave of crawlers come in. That wave of crawlers is dying. Now the next wave comes in. Beautiful timing. And with those crawlers comes that wasp. And so it's going to have no problem clearing the other wasp pack because Poochie was winning in the chaff board there. The chaff timing was flawless. So this round is going to be picked up no problem. Round 3. Do we see any other changes here? When are we going to see units in front? Are we going to see units in front? Debatable now because it's chaff clear and chaff units. But now this round we got the Void Eye with range and aerial mode, so now we maybe want something. So yeah, now there's that Fang. Fang's going to stop missile timing. It's going to tank some of those Void Eyes as well. Oh, aerial mode. Okay. So that wave of chaff dies. As soon as those Fangs die, now the crawlers are coming in. Crawlers starting to die, and now the next wave of crawlers is coming in with those wasps as well. And actually, we do get that tower timing as well. So beautiful execution there on that timing. Hope you guys are seeing and understanding now why like layering the chaff in waves like that is so important. Let's just go right to round 5 and see what happens here. Oh, we got hackers. Hackers. Hackers are notoriously terrible against shields. See a really interesting shield here. Anti-air wasp, trying to deal with those aerial void eyes. Get some shields on these hackers. And in order to not die to hackers, are you going to put any more chaff in front here? No? This shield is going to be enough. This guy's not going to get hacked? This guy might get hacked. I still got the rhino here. Like, yeah, when you get rhino drops too, you don't always need to put them in the front. You put them in the back. If this was in the front, it would get hacked right away. It's in the back, now it's not going to. looks like it may turn around and punch this tarantula when it gets hacked. So it's actually kind of saving things. Although now, not so much. These wasps are a bit much now. Cool, interesting. Cool timing there. Yeah. I think that's gonna about do it for this video. So I hope you guys learned something and enjoyed that. Let me know down in the comments below if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. That would be wonderful. But yeah, let me know how I'm doing, what you think, if you learned anything. And if you have any questions, you can always reach me in the Discord. There's a link down in the description below as well. I look forward to seeing your messages and hearing from you on that. And if you have, replays you want to send me, you got questions, I'd be happy to have a look at them, maybe throw them on screen. We can do a little lesson in that as well for the Mechacademy series. So yeah, thanks again, guys, and I will see you later.